Hey, so I played Mass Effect. I played the whole trilogy. Well, that's a lie. I haven't finished 3 yet. I just started 3. But I have some thoughts that I would like to share with you. Welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome in. My name is Anti, and I just want to give you a few thoughts, a few of my thoughts on Mass Effect 1, 2, and a little bit of 3. I just beat Mass Effect 2 yesterday, and I have a lot to talk about. You know, Mass Effect is like, and I kept thinking this my whole time playing, it's like a more interactive Telltale game, because you can free roam a little bit, you've got more open combat, you can move around, stuff like that. Telltale doesn't have that, but it still feels like a Telltale game at its core to me, just because of how decision driven it is, which I really love. I love Telltale games, and the only real critique I have about them is it's more of a movie than a game, which I get it, that's what it's meant to be, and I'm sure most of you like that. You like the simplicity of just picking choices, doing an occasional puzzle or something. Like The Walking Dead Telltale. I would have liked if there was more action, more combat, being able to run from cover to cover. I would have liked that, but I get what type of game it is. But that's why Mass Effect is here. That's why it's as popular as it is, because it's still an action game, but it's so choice-driven. Choices matter so much in this game. Oh my, it's like a dream come true, this series. So I have a few notes that I would like to mention. We're gonna go in order from my thoughts on Mass Effect 1 all the way to 3. Starting with 1. I think it's got a decent enough story. Like, I had no qualms with it. I think it's about as mid as it gets. But I like how it was so clear and linear. Your goal: go to Feros and, find out what you can over there. Then go to Novaria, find out what you can over there. And it's all building up to you finding out where Saren is, and then, your final showdown at the Citadel. Mass Effect 2 isn't quite like that. You still know what your goal is, like, way off in the distance, but you have to do so much, companion finding, like crew hiring. The content was great in Mass Effect 2, but it did feel a little bit like messy at times. Like, why am I over here solving the problem of this person when I should be, going after the collectors? So I like that about Mass Effect 1, that was very clear, very well paced in my opinion. I also like the story locations, like I mentioned, Feros. I don't know, I like the vibe. I like the Citadel in that game, which I think is quite an unpopular opinion, because, people tend to get really lost in the Citadel in Mass Effect 1, but I like that part of it. I like how it felt so open and maze-like. I liked getting lost in it. I also... God, I forget the place. I forget the name of the planet. The place where the Solarian ruler, leader, you need to go undercover, or no, his receptionist is undercover. You know what I mean? The undercover receptionist and the corrupt Solarian politician, or whatever he is. I really like that area. The Mass Effect 1 showcases a diverse range of settings, and I really like that about it. I've never ever seen anyone rank Mass Effect 1 above 2 or 3, and there's a reason for that. It just lacks depth in everything it does. The companions aren't that deep. They're cool, they're enjoyable, but you can't really grow an attachment to them. The combat mechanics, I was playing on Legendary Edition, as you can see back there. I was playing on Legendary Edition, and from what I understand, the combat is improved from the original, but I don't know how they improved it. I don't know what they did. It was a mindless shooter, and I will say the other 2 games later on are also mindless shooters, but there's more of a difficulty spike, I feel like, in the next 2. I did like the simplicity of Mass Effect 1's combat though. I liked the infinite ammo, not having to worry about picking any up, but maybe that's just the noob gamer inside of me. Just not wanting to do any work, not trying to put in any effort to, earn my reward. Also, it was sometimes tedious, Mass Effect 1. Especially the parts with the fucking Mako. Oh my god. Like when you're in Feros, and you know, you're having to... Oh, sorry, I might have hurt your ears there. This is why I don't do ASMR. I would just bump the mic constantly. So yeah, in Feros, when you're having to go across like the bridge in the Mako, Mass Effect 1 has a lot of those moments where you're just having to drive long distances. The driving parts are by far the most tedious thing about that game. Oh my goodness. Just thinking about it now, it bores me. It makes me want to go to sleep. And I think that's just because the on-foot combat is already simplified. So then when you put me in a vehicle that has even less mechanics, it's just boring. It really is. You know, the Mako sections did add immersion, that, you know, they made distances feel big because, you know, you have to take a vehicle. But yeah, gameplay wise, I didn't like the Mako section. Let me think what else. Saren, I think, was an alright villain. Spoiler alert, I don't think Mass Effect 2 really had much interest in villains either. Saren is about as good as it gets with Mass Effect. So far, I haven't played 3 yet fully. I like the Reaper, Sovereign. I wasn't as intimidated by him as I think I should have been, but that does get fixed in Mass Effect 3. Honestly, other than that, I don't have too much to say about Mass Effect 1. It's fine. It's good at times. I think I'll probably replay it again. I won't, you know, when I'm playing through the trilogy sometime in the future again, I won't skip Mass Effect 1 because it's just so simple, so easy, so linear. It's just, you know, a quick mindless game to get through. I like how it builds up the context for Mass Effect 2 and 3. But yeah, that's Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 2. We've all heard the talks, we've all heard the discourse, one of the greatest games ever, the best RPG ever. I can see why people say that, and I did really enjoy Mass Effect 2. Is it in my top 5? No. And that's more so on the gameplay side, rather than the narrative side, the companion side. Let's talk about him. Mass Effect 2's story is a lot grander in scale. Mass Effect 1 was about, the destruction of the world is coming, Saren is gonna, you know, bring back the Reapers, and they're all gonna eat babies together, like John Marston. Also, oh god, I'm wobbling the camera. Yeah, I've got a real DIY setup going here. Look at this. This is my tripod. Oh my god. Moving about just then, standing up and like, you know, moving the camera, that took so much out of me. I don't want to hear any of you Americanos saying that the UK weather is not hot. It is. It's built different. I'm telling you, man. I don't know what's in the air. Maybe this is our punishment for, you know, eating beans on toast. I don't know. But god, it's horrible. I'm actually completely naked below the camera. I'm not, look. Can you tell this video is unscripted? I've not done an unscripted video in like 2 years. So yeah, Mass Effect 2's story is grander. The set pieces are bigger. I think about the finale and I compare that to Mass Effect 1's. Oh my god, Mass Effect 2 is huge in that regard. The finale, it's genuinely amazing, I think. I think by far it is the highlight of Mass Effect 2. I like the choices you're given in the finale, in the suicide mission. It's basically a little mini game of pick who dies and who lives. And I also really like how your choices throughout the second game all lead up to that moment in the finale. I made a grand mistake, a big old mistake, right? I didn't upgrade the Normandy once in my entire playthrough, which meant that in the finale, Jack, boom, Casimir, or whatever her name was, dead, shot down, gunned down like a dog. By the way, if you're wondering the outcome of my suicide mission in Mass Effect 2, Garrus, dead. Casimir, dead. Jack, gunned down. Jacob, thank God, dead. Miranda, unfortunately, the most annoying in the planet, and she lives? I tried to get her to die. I expected her to die. Why is she in my crew still? But while we're on the topic of companions, I love how character-driven Mass Effect 2 is, and I think that's why so many people regard it as the best in the series. I understand the praise in that regard. I think, and I always say this, a good personal story will always be better than a big end of the world scenario, or you know, I think about this for the Yakuza games a lot. They're always, you know, ending in a conspiracy theory, a national conspiracy to bring down the government, or, you know, whatever. And I always say the smaller stories within Yakuza are better. You know, the ones about Kiryu developing as a character or whatnot will always beat the conspiracies and the big world-ending scenarios. Mass Effect 2, for the most part, is just about characters. You know, you have the occasional mission where you're investigating the Reapers or the Collectors, but in between all of that, you are recruiting companions, you are helping companions, you're, you know, building up friendships and romances. It is very companion-driven, and that does make it a very good game. It presents some of the most interesting characters I think I've ever seen in gaming, like Samara, who has a daughter that she has to hunt down and kill. That's crazy. Thane is such a good character. He's mysterious, but he's like spiritual. When you first see him, you think, oh, he's gonna be a cold-hearted assassin. No, he is anything but. Grunt, I really like Grunt. The writing in Mass Effect 2 is genuinely so unique. Like, who else would have thought of a story like Grunt's? You know, you're going down to recruit Okia, a Krogan scientist, but instead, plot twist, Okia dies. Now you've got Grunt to look after. He was born inside of a tank. He is not biological, you know? He's not natural. That's so weird and so interesting. Jack as well, absolutely great character. I saw a comment maybe on TikTok or something like that if Mass Effect 2 came out this year in 2025, it would have been labeled woke because of Jack. That's so true. But guess what? All those red-pilled, outside of the Matrix, you know, all those people, they probably love Mass Effect. They conveniently forget their agenda when it comes to, you know, older games that they just like. That's a topic for another day. For critiques about the game, and this is what I was talking about when it came to gameplay, missions are very formulaic in Mass Effect 2. And yeah, they're very formulaic in Mass Effect 1. That was the point. I was talking about how clear and linear 1 is. But the thing I don't like about 2 is there are so many missions where you have to help out people in your crew, and pretty much all of them end the same way or have the same structure. They have, your companion has this friend who they trust with their life, and that companion betrays them, and you know, you have to shoot through an army of enemies to get to that friend, and that's nearly the same formula for every single mission. I think that's why I appreciated Thane's mission, which did have some shooting, I think. I don't remember. But it had you, you know, stalking after Thane's son. Jax was cool, because yeah, it did have a bunch of shooting in it, but it also had you exploring an environment that means a lot to her. It was very interesting. But yeah, a lot of the missions were very formulaic. They would just fast travel to a building or whatever, or a planet, shoot through waves of enemies, and get to the big bad villain, the person who probably betrayed your companion. Combat is significantly improved from Mass Effect 1, but like a lot of people say, going from Mass Effect 1 to 2, it's very different. Mass Effect 2. I like the simplicity of 1, and 2 brings in a lot of improvements that make it a bit more of a complex combat system, you know, like having to pick up ammo, having loads of different weapons. I really appreciate that. I appreciate how you just find weapons out in the open, having upgrades that you can do on your ship, on your character, on your armor. But it was very, I don't know what the word is, dawning? Not dawning. Something like that. Who cares? I don't. Locations in Mass Effect 2, good. I like Mass Effect 1's locations a lot. I think some of the location design in 2 sucks, like Omega. I really like Omega's vibe, but the layout of that map just, it sucks. It's just so annoying to travel through. But I like the, I forgot the name of the city, the place with all the Asaris where you find Liara. I really like that. It brings a whole new vibe. It reminds me a lot of, it's not called Concord, that's the game. What is the place from Star Wars? Coruscant. It reminds me a lot of Coruscant. And I like how companions made comments while you were there at that location, like, oh, this place, it'll turn it, one small mistake and this place will turn into Omega. It's like one thing away from becoming another criminal trash haven. I like how much lore was in each of these major locations. Mass Effect 3? That's what I've just started. I started that last night. I've played for 2 hours. Oh my god, the gameplay. I never thought gameplay in a Mass Effect game could actually be like really good, but it's really good. It's fluid. I really love the cover system. It makes so many improvements. I don't know if the sprint is infinite, but I think it might be, and if so, best addition ever. I don't know why they wouldn't make sprint infinite in the other 2 games. Just seems kind of lame. You know, you're this super soldier, Commander Shepard, the hero of the world, the universe, the galaxy, and yet he can't sprint for more than 3 seconds. Developers need to think more about that when they're developing a game. Like, sure, you might want to add restrictions for the player, little challenges, whatever, but don't undo a character's writing in the process. They really hype Shepard up at a lot of times, you know, the savior, an icon, a celebrity, the greatest soldier to ever live. They really do hype him up, but then at other times they just make him a bit lame, like they kind of forget their own writing. But that's beside the point. The gameplay in 3 is great so far. The shooting is satisfying. It feels, as it should, like the most modern game in the series, in the trilogy. I had to run to get the door. I am so sweaty right now. I can't wait to end this video and go play more Mass Effect. The sense of dread and doom in the introduction of 3 is absolutely amazing. When you're at Earth, and then you see the Reapers coming down, looming over you, destroying the city. It is, you know, the critique I had with Mass Effect 1, and 2 for that matter, is that the end of the world scenarios didn't feel very scary most of the time. You know, that sense of doom wasn't there. Now it is in 3, and I've heard that a lot from people, that Mass Effect 3 has the best story, with the exception of that ending, which I'm very scared about. But the Reapers are finally shown as something like intimidating. They're now real, they're here. In Mass Effect 2, the very ending, the final cutscene, when it shows that fleet of Reapers, you know, coming towards the galaxy, oh my goodness. The introductory mission on Mars, I didn't really like that. There's not a whole lot of choice, it's very linear. I think they could have done something a lot more impressive if they wanted to, but I guess maybe they were just trying to ease you in with something simple and then, you know, really bounce back later. I'm sure the game will get really good now. I've just finished the Mars section. So I'm hoping for a lot with Mass Effect 3. I've heard the DLC will be able to fix the ending somewhat, so I'll definitely be doing that. I dread to think what the ending was like when the game first launched. That's pretty much all I had to talk about for Mass Effect. All in all, I love this trilogy now. It is amazing. It feels like, you know, when you just really want to watch through the Lord of the Rings movies, you know, the director's cut, watch like 12 hours of content every year. It feels similar with Mass Effect. Like, I could see myself wanting to replay this game every year as tradition. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. There will be more videos coming out very soon. I've got a lot in the works that I think you guys will enjoy. And that will be all. See ya.